Yes. And be like, what? Why does the editing sound like? Why are you guys talking? We had to bleep out names, names
Oh,
and dates.
names and dates. Okay, village. Hi, welcome back. It's been a little bit, but I just love folks that I get to talk to, and I've been wanting Chi Chi to come back. So I'm not gonna have her introduce herself because she's like the guest that comes over, and the first time you're like, okay, these are where the cups are, and then this is where this is, and then the second time they're there, like, girl, if you don't get yourself some water, like, don't ask me. So that's how I am with you now, Chi Chi. But welcome,
Okay.
happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
How you doing?
I'm doing, you know what? I'm doing great. It's a beautiful
Ooh.
day. I feel good.
Mhm.
I've had some water today, so
Oh,
which,
good.
I don't drink enough water, but I had a cup of water.
Oh,
I'm doing well.
I love it. Did you walk this morning? Because usually on your Sundays you walk.
Usually I do, but we walked yesterday and we actually went out last night to the movies.
Hmm.
And so and we had so much fun. But I slept in this morning. I didn't walk.
Okay.
hmm
What'd you watch at the movies?
We saw Baby Girl with Nicole Kidman, and that's all I'm gonna say. It's a lot. It's a lot. Okay, when we're finished,
Okay.
go ahead and watch the trailer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it like a
And
white version of Baby Boy?
no, no. Just watch the trailer.
Okay. Okay. I will. I will.
Yeah.
All right. All right. All right. Yes, I'm now anxious to watch it, but I'm going to watch it and then I'll text you and be like, what in the hell is this? Or,
Exactly.
ooh, can't wait to see it. I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna. What are you currently reading anything?
For the first time in a long time, I am not currently reading anything. I took a little break in December just because December was, you know, kind of crazy.
Mhm.
And also because I realized my daughter left for college. She's in art school in New York. And we dropped her off in August. So I
Mhm.
have not seen my daughter. And I did not know what to do with myself when I got back because my daughter was my nighttime talking mess buddy. We would watch movies. I would fall asleep. She would slap me a couple times to wake me up.
Sure.
We would stay up late. She'd come sometimes get in bed with me and we would talk. And we just, she would do my hair. There was all these things that we did that I realized I'm not doing those things anymore. I still have one child at home. I have two in college. One's at Sac State, and then my daughter's she's in New York, in Manhattan.
Mhm.
And I still have my now 12-year-old with me, but he's limited on what he wants to talk to me about and what he wants to do with me. So we spend a lot of time together, but there was just a void in my life. I was cooking less food. I had to learn to adjust my cooking because I didn't have to cook for my daughter. Um, it was such a shift for me.
Mhm.
And so it was very kind of a downtime, like sad for me. I was really missing my daughter. I just really couldn't focus. Like I almost couldn't do anything. And I was thinking, I'm not doing anything. I need to do something.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't have the energy. So I think it was kind of like like depression kind of that I
Mhm.
went through because I just was immobile. I was like, I'm just gonna sit here because I don't know what to do, but I know I need to do something, but I don't know what to do. I think what kept me alive and breathing and
Mhm.
functional is the fact that I do have my mom who lives with me. I've still got my husband. I've still got my 12-year-old.
Yeah.
And then my husband was like, why don't we just do family dinner night every Wednesday? And I was like, that's a good idea. So then my oldest son would come home from the dorms and he would have dinner with us on Wednesdays, and I'd make probably way too much food and we'd have family. So that was perfect. That helped. Um, and my friends group, random,
Mm-hmm.
like, my friend and I will go out to dinner on a random Monday or Tuesday, or we'd meet up after she gets off of work and we'd go have a burger, and a lemon drop, so that
Mm-hmm.
helped to keep me afloat. But then there was still that downtime. So that's why I'm saying I'm not reading,
Okay.
because I was just too busy thinking, woe is me, I'm so sad.
Yeah.
And I just kind of didn't know what to do. And I didn't feel like, I didn't want to listen to podcasts, didn't want to listen to music, didn't want to read a book, and it was also the weather was changing. So it was just a whole thing. So I am going to get back. I already have maybe 3 or 4 books in line. The Ta-Nehisi Coates
Mm-hmm.
book.
I read that book.
Well, I'm sure it was good.
I loved
I'm sure it
it.
was excellent. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have that one lined up. I have a few more lined up. I'll start back. And I do feel better. I talk to my daughter every day. And so that's why I'm kind of not really reading anything right now. But
No, I think that that is good. And yes, it does sound, I'm not diagnosing you. I'm not doing this, but it does
right.
sound like you were in a space where you just needed to be with your thoughts and your feelings and not worry
Mm-hmm.
about trying to busy yourself, because that's what it is. Like, I think there are some times, like, yeah, it's good to, like you said, I'm going out with my friends, I'm going, but then there are certain times where we have to connect with what the feeling actually is. And it sounds like there
Mm-hmm.
was some loneliness.
Definitely loneliness. I know that my daughter and I have a great relationship.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was missing, was the proximity to my daughter, because sometimes it would just be us sitting on the couch, not talking, but she was there. And I
Yeah.
knew that and so also the other thing that I was having to process is my daughter is not in, Sacramento. He's in New York with dangerous thugs. You so I'm also having
And
to process,
subways.
and subways, and sometimes she'd FaceTime me and I'd be like, "Are you outside?" And she'd be like, "Mommy, I'm just walking from the school to my dorm." And I'd be like, "Get inside quick. Keep me on the phone. Keep me on the line." And she's just like, "Mommy, you're being ridiculous right now." But I will say, shout out to my friends Jerome and Maisha. She is a professor at NYU, so she's within walking distance to my daughter, and they have really helped keep her afloat in New York. And that's the only saving grace. That's my only saving grace, is that I people who I love and who love me and who love my daughter are there. And they're just like, when we were filling out her college paperwork, I said, "Hey, do you mind if I put you down as an emergency contact? Because if there's an emergency, if there's any kind of emergency where they have to evacuate the dorms, you have to have a plan, and you
Yeah.
have to write down, this is where my daughter would go if
Yeah.
anything happened."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Are you kidding me? Of course. I mean, where else is she going to go? Of course she could come here." So I'm like, okay, 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 okay. But just knowing that someone else has your child's best interest, is that it meant the world to me.
Mhm.
And so that's been a beautiful thing. So at the same time of missing my daughter,
Yeah.
I was also worried, and I was making up things in my head, situations in my head that had never occurred. That it didn't happen. So she has had to talk me off the ledge several times, and then, so now I'm in a good place with having her there, and I can't wait to see her when she comes back for spring break.
Yeah. Did she come
Hmm.
home for winter break?
She did not. She chose to go to Chicago for 3 weeks to live with my niece. My niece has been in Chicago since, I want to say, maybe 2015,
Okay.
and she lives alone. So it was nice for them to be able to spend this time together. And it was fun. We sent them a box of Christmas gifts to put under a little skinny Amazon tree that we sent them. And I said, it's giving very much broke college students, but I like it. I like
That's
it.
That's what they are. They're
That's
both.
exactly what they are. Yeah. So yeah, she didn't come home, but I'm getting ready to purchase her ticket for her to come home during spring break. We
Okay.
can't wait to see her.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I would ask you how it's going because Alex has like a year and a half. Um,
Yeah,
and
it's
you're not
almost
giving me
time.
hope. And you have three children.
Hmm.
And I have one, and I probably will be a hot ass fucking mess.
I will be there for you with a Kleenex and a lemon
Okay.
drop. Um,
I love this
whenever you
lemon
need
drop.
me.
I love
Okay. Lemon drop, a burger, some
that.
Kleenex. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. What is a musical artist that you are rediscovering?
This might be cheating because I can't really say rediscovering, but when I was younger, obviously I listened to what my parents listened to.
Sure.
And I remember hearing this person's voice because their voice is very distinct. And they had a very popular song, but it's Randy Crawford. And I don't know. Oh, okay, so I went on this. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna rediscover and and discover music. So in 2023, I did this where I just listened to album after album after album after album, and I was like,
Yeah.
I had never listened to this album before, and it came out in 1994, and I only knew two songs, but now I really like this album. Or I need to re-listen to that one because I remember playing this all the time. Let me re-listen and revisit that album. So I listened to a ton of albums. And then my friend was like, why don't you make a playlist? And I was like, ah. So in 2024, I listened to all these different albums, new albums, old albums, albums that I didn't like at the time, but I said, let me give it a re-listen. Music from a genre that I have really never listened to before or never claimed I didn't like it, when really I found something that I did like within that genre.
Mm-hmm.
So this 2024 playlist, Chioko, it had, I mean, the range in artists is crazy, but it works. Every time I listen to it, I'm like, ah,
Damn.
that song sounds good after that one. And you're like, this is a good playlist. But it just kind of happened. And I really enjoyed that. So
Mm,
I'm doing that again for 2025. So this was one of my 2024 albums I listened to was Randy Crawford. And I was like, you know what? So my top voices are Anita, Jasmine Sullivan,
okay.
and Rochelle Farrell.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Well, as in terms of voices, Rochelle Farrell, Jasmine Sullivan,
Hmm.
and Layla Hathaway.
Okay.
In
Yep.
terms of the voice, just the voice, right? Anita is like my top artist. Like I love Anita Baker. But and she also but they all have to me very distinct voices.
Hmm.
Very like you can't not know who that is, right?
Hmm.
You know Layla when Layla is singing.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I was like, I kind of want to put Randy in there too, because her voice is so, there's just like a grittiness to her voice, but it's not grittiness. There's a
It's
texture to her
texture.
voice. It has a
Yeah.
texture, but it's really smooth.
Hmm.
And I was like, but I only know Street Light, and then there was one other song that I knew. But then I listened to like two or three albums, and I was like, I enjoy her voice. So that's also on my 2024 playlist. So I want to say I'm rediscovering, but it's kind of all new to me. I knew her
Hmm.
voice and I've always liked her voice, but to hear her saying these ballads, I was like, wow, like you can hear the way that it's crazy to like listen and you hear the texture in her voice. And
Hmm.
yeah, so I'm discovering Randy Crawford and I'm enjoying that. And I'm gonna say she's probably one of my top five in terms of voices, like the way her voice sounds. And I just wish I
Mm.
could sing. Man, if I could sing, you would not be able to shut me up, Chioko.
You're like, girl, I just asked you what the weather was. I don't know why you have to harmonize it. Fuck. Like,
Shut up.
shut up. Well,
Gosh.
that's how I am with my guitar girl. Let me tell you, I'll be in the car and I'll tell Alex, he still sits in the back seat.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get Alex like it's just the two. He's the only kid. You remember how I used to fight for the front seat? No,
Mm-hmm.
Alex will just be by himself and he'll be like, doop, and get in the back.
With those
We
long
show,
legs.
yeah, we chauffeur him around,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
literally.
Mm-hmm.
And something will come on, and I'll be like, yes. As soon as I can play this shit with my guitar, it's about to be on. And I tell Jessica, I'll be like, girl, I'm about to call you one day, be like, Nokia on Drew Hill, be like, can I play for you, baby? And then just play my little bing, 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 my little riff of something. Because right now, I am learning the Supremes, Where Did Our Love Go? And the Supremes are one of my favorite groups. They were simple but elegant, like Diana Ross,
Yeah.
but it works. My mom was completely anti Diana, so I had to like sneak her music. You know how people like kids are sneaking like
Mm-hmm.
rap
Mm-hmm.
music? I'm sneaking the
Diana
Supremes.
Ross.
Yeah, because my mom was like, no, that won't be playing up in here. But I can listen to everything else, but
Mm-hmm.
not Supremes. I am currently, I think I'm rediscovering. I'm gonna put Randy Crawford down because I'm like, oh yeah, I need to like do that. So you gave me an idea, but
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen the Luther
Oh, me
documentary
neither.
yet, but
Me
I'm
neither.
planning to.
Me too.
But I think that has inspired me to go through and start really listening again to Luther
Mm-hmm.
Vandross.
Yeah.
Now, I've shared this on the podcast before. My mom, runs a tight ship.
Mm-hmm. Uh-oh.
And I've shared this before. My mom always tells this, like, when at the time of like, the rise of like Luther, there wasn't social media, of course. And
Right.
Anita Baker, there wasn't, people didn't know unless you experienced them firsthand.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Anita Brown does not know Luther Vandross or Anita Baker, but she's experienced them via concert. So my
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
mom always shares a story like we would hear Luther in the house, then all of a sudden Luther stopped. And my mom went to his concert at the Circle Star.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom says so that's in the Bay Area and it was Indian summer. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and people showed up, they had their minks on and 'cause they're seeing Luther. What else do you
Right.
wear? You don't go in there with jeans.
Exactly.
You wear
You absolutely do not.
you don't
Okay.
you
You
show
wear
up.
your Sunday's best.
That's what you do. I don't know why
Mm-hmm.
you have a mink in California, even
Period.
if you're in
California,
the
period.
California, even if you're in the Bay Area, it's not that cold to wear a mink.
No.
But okay, you wear your mink. My mom said he got in there and was like, I don't do air conditioning. My voice doesn't tolerate this. And
Loofah.
yes. And he was like, no. And since then, my mom was like, that son of a bitch had the nerve. And we were fighting. And, Luther has passed away, and my mom still keeps the same energy. So
Mm-hmm.
she's not like, oh, I'm going to rediscover him because he's dead. She is like, it was hot.
Mm-mm. She said, I'm done.
I'm done. And she has been
Yeah.
done. And that concert was probably like in 91. She doesn't play. I'll have to ask her for direct date, but we Luther was not played in the household
Right.
anymore. She
Right.
was
Wow. That's commitment.
it's commitment, and I think I get that from her. Like once I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, no, I'm not doing it. I don't do it. I boycotted a business they didn't even know I was boycotting, but
Mm-hmm.
I stood firm. And I wish somebody would tell me they were going there. I'm like, I'm boycotting. They're like, well, do they know it really the boycott doesn't mean anything.
Chioko, have you told them? Do they know?
Nope. They don't, but they know they didn't see my face in there anymore. So
And I'm
therefore,
sure they miss me. I'm sure
I
they miss me.
exactly. So I get that from Benita Brown. But yeah, so I think I'm gonna rediscover Luther. And
Mm-hmm.
but also I've always listened to him in secret, I think.
Mm-hmm. Embarrassing.
Yes.
In secret. In secret. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Because other
Yeah.
family members listen to him. My mom,
Yeah.
the buck didn't stop at her. But other family members listen to him. And Dan tells me that his mom, because I never met his mom passed before him and I got together, but she was a huge Luther Vandross fan. So
Mm-hmm.
Dan is very well versed in his Lutheranisms.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I have a little bit of catching up to do as far as the whole the whole catalog. I have bits
Mm-hmm.
and pieces from different times, but I need to rediscover the catalog.
Yes, and you know what? People our age, I think will say things. We've seen it in the music group where they say, I'm not really a huge Luther fan or whatever. And I get that because Luther's not really our music. It's the music of our parents. We just happen to
Right.
like it. Same with Anita.
Yeah.
My dad put me on to Anita Baker, and I just remember hearing her voice and being just mesmerized. It was so smooth and so milky, and just the tone was, and it's like you just don't. I wasn't hearing women who sounded like Anita at that time, and I just loved it. And I'm from the Bay. I grew up in the Bay Area, and it was Quiet Storm. It was, I
Oh
believe,
yes.
KBLX,
Yep.
and it was all the Quiet Storm, and so that's where I got to hear Anita. I got to hear Luther. All those.
Yeah. I remember going to Berkeley a lot and when we would always leave on Sunday nights going back home. And
Mm-hmm.
we would listen to Quiet Storm as long as the signal
Yep.
stayed. So yes, that was where a lot of that. I mean, I just remember that whole sensation of Quiet
Yep.
Storm, right?
Yep.
But my mom wasn't a fan of Anita, but but I think it was hearing about the attitude, right?
Uh-huh.
Like people
Uh-huh.
came to see you and you do. It's like she's like, well, that might be going too far. People might write me bad letters, but I will say the vibe of it. Not saying they're the same. The vibe of it is like how Lauren Hill
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
treat her fans.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
this, you come to see me, so therefore you get what I give you, and don't throw a fit.
Right.
And maybe they're not the exact same, but that's the vibe.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
Anita gave like movements and elegance and dress
Mm-hmm.
fitting.
He was roller skating, girl.
Sure.
Okay. And she had to be in her 30s, roller skating in that cute little outfit with her cute little signature haircut, and
And
was skating backwards.
it
Was
was like a
skating, was doing, uh, uh, you know?
and it was like a crop, like like a Hanes sweatshirt
Yes.
and her little jeans. I do remember that. And she,
Mm-hmm. I never realized how compact she is. Petite. The
yes,
woman is tiny,
yes, yeah,
tiny.
yes,
Um, but yeah, Anita had like black elegance. She was like Jet magazine, like just auntie. She's always had auntie energy for me,
yes.
but just elegant. the voice, everything. And so when
Yeah.
people say that they don't like Anita's voice, I'm like, or they don't like Anita Baker, they don't like her music. I'm just like, that's so weird to me. You can like whoever you like, not like whoever you like, but I'm like, really? Are you
Yeah.
sure you don't like Anita Baker?
Yeah. Yeah. You must have had Bina Brown as a mom because
Right.
sometimes I think our parents can taint, like, you know how you said, like, I listened to what my parents listened to. So
Hmm.
if you
Hmm.
had a parent in the household who was like, I ain't fucking with her, right?
Hmm.
And would
Hmm.
play it or would talk badly about her. I'm not saying that my mom was doing all of that,
Right.
but it took for me to just like to listen to it on my own. But my mom was, I think, more tolerable of Anita Baker than she was of Luther Vandross. So yeah, I think you go with that. So when I hear somebody say something like I don't like Anita Baker, I'm kind of like, oh, so you don't like music.
Right. Oh,
So
okay. Well, we can't be
you're racist.
friends.
You're racist then. That's what Jessica will say. That person's racist. It's like, damn. Yes, you are racist then if you don't like me. Like that doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, that's got to be it. You're obviously racist
Obviously.
because what are we doing?
What, Anita Baker? Mm.
Yeah. And also leave her alone. Don't talk about my auntie like that. I know she done had her times, okay? She's tired.
Ah.
Leave her alone.
Did you go to her concert in Oakland last year?
I did, and I enjoyed it. I
Mm.
loved it. And she is like she's going to give you a show.
Yeah.
She's old school. She's just like, let's go.
She's
Let's sing.
she's
Let's do
moving
what we
her
got to
hands.
do. Yes. And I remember I went to her concert like maybe in 2017 or 2018, 2017, I think. She had a concert and a friend and I went, and she just looked at me and she said, "Girl, thank you for inviting me." And I don't know how I had an extra ticket. I think my husband was supposed to go and then he flaked. And I was like, not you flaking on Anita. I said, I'm gonna
So
take
you
somebody else
racist.
then.
So now you want to get a divorce.
Racist. Racist. Sign right here, sir. You see, sign right here. But I ended up taking my girlfriend, and she was like, "Girl, thank." She said, "I did not know that I needed this." She said, "Thank you so much for inviting me." And we had such a good time. And I just remember, okay, so I was. This is Black people though. You gotta watch what you say. We were walking back to the car, and we had to go down this flight of steps, and we were like a herd of like cows. We were so close together and everyone was trying to leave at the same time, and I said I loved it. I said, but I said she just didn't sing Angel the way that I really wanted to hear it, like. And this Black lady turned around and looked at me like, and I said, I mean, but it was good. What I meant, I didn't mean I didn't like it. I just, it was different. I said, let's go to the car, girl. I'm gonna go to the car. But yeah, Black folks don't play about
No.
Anita. We just don't. We
Mm-mm.
don't. She's protected.
She's a protected class.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's what Anita is. Yeah, she's
Absolutely.
protected. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I'm so happy you're here because you and I have been talking about people playing in our faces
Hmm.
and what we're not going to do in the year of our Lord 2025 is allow people to play in our face.
Period.
Mm-mm, not at all. And I think in the past, this is 2025, I'm going to say in the past 5 years, maybe 4.5 years, I have been really looking at who is playing in my face, who I allow to play in my face, and who I will no longer allow to play in my face. And that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
only just go for friendships, that has been family members as well, because some
Mm-hmm.
of them have cut the entire fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
And I have said, I'm like Rochelle and Everybody Hates Chris, like, my man got 2 jobs. I don't need that. Like, that that has been my energy. It has nothing to do with the
Mm-hmm.
man having jobs, but it was more so like, why? I don't need that. That's
Mm-mm.
not what I need. So I have been doing some evaluating in ways I've never ever done before. It has
Mm-hmm.
been hurtful at times because,
Yes.
sometimes you reveal a lot of yourself to friends,
Mm-hmm.
and you may not know where that information is going to go,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to make the choice to end the relationship because it doesn't serve
Mm-hmm.
you anymore. It doesn't serve community, it doesn't serve each other. It's just, whatever.
Yep.
I wanted to ask you, have you had to do this? And what does it look like to reevaluate friendships at
Mm-hmm.
your big ass age?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I've had to reevaluate friendships. Now, I will say about me, I don't let go of friendships easily because, first of all, if I call you a friend, there's something about you
Mm,
that I appreciate, that I have learned from, I've grown from. It's a mutual, it should be, in my opinion, an exchange. You
mm,
know, we should each get something and complement each other in a certain way.
right.
So it's difficult for me to detach from friendships. It's difficult for me to talk about the tough things. Um, but like you said, at this age, at this big ass age, and I'm 48, I will be 49 this year.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't have time. I don't have time. So, yes, I have had to end a friendship. And what was the second part of your question?
Oh, I was so captivated by what you were saying. What what does it look like for you to evaluate these friendships?
Like you said, it can be hurtful.
Hmm.
It can be eye-opening because in order to evaluate what someone else has done, you have to evaluate what you've done. You have to look at what you've done. And you have to reconcile. You may have to apologize, maybe, for some things that you've said or things that you've done. And also, there's a process of realizing that maybe you affected someone in a certain way that you didn't mean for it to happen, but you never addressed it.
Hmm.
So looking at, what it looks like to do all that, to evaluate the friendship, it's hurtful, it's eye-opening, and at the end, whatever you go through, you're going to come to the conclusion of either it's repairable and I can take these steps to fix it and we can grow in our friendship, or it needs to come to an end.
Yeah.
It's one way or the other, and it doesn't feel good to go through that process, but you have to do it.
Yeah. Does it, I mean, it's grieving, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
when
Mm-hmm.
things change or when things end, there's grief involved in it, and it's a process of grieving. I think sometimes we're not willing to allow ourselves to move through the process of grief. Therefore, we get back into these harmful
Mm-hmm.
and toxic relationships. Are you
Yep.
allowing yourself to grieve the loss of the relationship?
Hmm. The relationship that I have disclosed to you.
You better have grieved it.
Yes, I grieved. It was a very short grieving process for me, and then I just let it go. I done because but it was so traumatic the way that it ended, and it was so eye-opening. Actually, and it wasn't really abrupt. It was like, okay, over time I started to see these little things, and I'm like, huh. Still wasn't quite enough for me to just be like, I'm not gonna be your friend anymore. But it started to add up. And so it was a process that I didn't realize I was going through that process.
Yeah.
And I eventually was like, I gotta let go.
Mm,
and I was done. I kind of went through the grieving process and the letting go process at the same time. And so very quickly I was like, I'm done. I'm good. I'm fine. I feel I have no regrets. None whatsoever on how that, and I haven't had to actually end very many relationships or friendships, because they've either just kind of withered away or
yeah,
they're still going strong. One that I can think of has actually been repaired, and one very long relationship was ended.
yeah,
No regrets.
yeah,
No regrets.
yeah. I think that I've experienced a few friendship terminations.
That's probably a better word. I like that.
Friendship terminations, and one was, I've shared about it a couple times, but one was really a lot. But like you reminded me of something. Like these things sometimes do not happen immediately. There's a
hmm
there's a there's a process it goes through, and for
hmm
me, it was thinking. I remember flying back home from visiting this said friend, and when I got home, I told my husband, I said, "Yeah, if I would have met her now at this stage of my life, we would not be friends
Yep.
because there's nothing about our lives that connect us. Even
hmm
my values as a human being does not allow. I don't fool with people who treat serving staff, people in, service fields. I don't treat them like I don't talk to them crazy. I'm nice. Like you're helping me. Like I understand it
hmm
might be rough for you, but I'm still going to like because I don't know what your story is, right? I get to make a
Right.
decision. I don't have to patronize this business anymore if that's the case.
hmm
But this particular friend, I mean, would talk crazy to people. I was like, then I started recognizing that none of her friends were black. She had any
hmm
black friends. I was it. And I was like, something doesn't sit right in my spirit about that. And I remember coming home and telling my husband, I said, and we had been friends since teenage years. And I had told my
hmm
husband, I said, yeah, if I would have met her now, we wouldn't be friends because
Right.
there's nothing that connects us. The only thing that connects us is nostalgia.
And she's not black.
No.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I met her in high school, freshman year.
hmm
So I was clearly at a different place in my life. And I talked to you about living where I grew up and
hmm
stuff.
hmm
So yeah, there weren't any other black friends.
Right.
Like, there just wasn't.
They weren't, yeah,
They weren't there.
they weren't there.
Unless I went to a summer program every summer, and that is where my black friends came
hmm
from. Which I'll always, even if I don't talk to them every 2 years on Facebook, like just check in. I
hmm
always, always, always appreciate them for that time in my life that I
Yeah.
needed them. But yeah, but when you start getting older, you're like, something doesn't align.
hmm
And so yeah, we would not be friends today. But after, years after that, maybe 4 or 5 years after that, our friendship ended, and it was based off of stuff
hmm
around race, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
No,
hmm
no, girl, I'm not on the fence, and this is perfect, 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 perfect that
hmm
it's been revealed. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And there was grief around that, even though I knew, like, there ain't no coming back from this. There's no repair.
Right.
And sometimes we have to be okay with things not being repaired.
hmm Sometimes, I mean, there's an end for everything.
Yes.
There's really an end for everything, an end of the road and the end of life, the end
Yeah.
of whatever. There's an end, and it may not always, it's not always going to feel good, but we have to understand that that is a part of life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And, this particular person who I unfriended, um, they had qualities that I enjoyed. Super funny,
Mm,
super creative, just a lot of fun. And I can still think about the time that we spent together and laugh at
mhm,
something that happened.
mhm,
But does that mean that I need to be in the relationship and suffer all the other things that weren't great? No. And I think it was nostalgia that kept me in the relationship, and also just a fear, or you know just not wanting to have the uncomfortable conversation and not feeling as though I could,
yeah,
because I can't tell you anything. Anything I tell you is going to be perceived as you're jealous,
yep,
you're mad because of this. It could never just be because this is something
yeah,
that we need to talk about. It's something that you're doing that doesn't feel good, and I'm asking you to stop doing it, or whatever it may be. For me, it was just healthier to exit the friendship. It just was, it could not be repaired. Um, so it is what it is. Like I said, I have no regrets,
mhm,
but it was the nostalgia that kept me there for so long. There were so many good times,
yeah,
so many good times earlier on. But then I realized, like, if I stood back and looked at it, that we weren't having those good times anymore necessarily. And I was feeling a lot of resentment because things she would say, things she would do, some of the opinions that she held
mhm,
that I
mhm.
didn't agree with. And we don't have to agree on everything. Even my best friend now will be, sometimes we're like, yeah, we don't agree.
Girl,
And then
I
we move
get
on. Then we're just like, hey, let's go have a lemon drop or something. I don't know. And that's fine. And I love
yeah,
that. It's healthy. I also don't agree with my husband on everything.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's natural. It's never going to be we agree on everything. So,
yeah. And sometimes when those disagreements are based upon values, how you see people, see the world, there are some
mhm.
things that you just can't overlook, right?
Right.
Like I
Right.
think, yeah, if we have a difference of opinion on, I don't like Anita Baker. It's like,
I'm a
hello,
side eye you, but
I'm side eyeing
okay.
you, but we can still
Mhm.
exist in community together.
Mhm.
But when you're saying things like, I don't like gay people because I think they're gonna go to hell, that is when I'm like, whoa, whoa,
Mhm.
that doesn't align with me, and I can't sit here in community with you while you
Right.
spew that and think that I'm gonna
Mhm.
be high fiving you like, yeah, girl, they can't be
Mhm.
mean to me. No, I'm not doing
And there are certain things we cannot agree to disagree on, because it's going to affect the
right,
way that you interact with people who I might love,
right,
who I care about, who I genuinely care about.
right.
Um, there's political differences, right? You want to vote this way, I vote that way. I get it. We're not going to believe the same things, but when that candidate is for harming other people, for excluding certain people, um, that I can't agree to disagree on that. Um, so those are the things that for me matter in a friendship. And my friends group now, I will say right now, my friends group is solid. We don't agree on everything, but the important things we agree on. And this friends group doesn't allow me to let things fester, because it is difficult for me, someone who I love, someone who I consider a friend. It's hard for me to say, hey, I didn't like how you did that. I didn't like the way you spoke to me. I didn't like how you did this, this, or that. Can you please not do that?
Right.
It's hard for me to say that.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
But I have learned recently that it's more beneficial to just get it off of your chest, say it, because if that other person respects you,
Right.
they'll receive it and you guys can work on repairing it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I'm
Mm.
still learning in my old age, but my friends group now is solid, and these are women who I trust
Yeah. Yeah.
and who I know care about me, you know.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And
That's
again,
wonderful.
so we're not going to agree on everything, and we don't. But
Mm.
the important stuff, yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you this. What does an intimate friend look like to you, and how do you show up in an intimate friendship?
An intimate friendship for me is one where I know I can trust you completely with my most tender parts,
Mm.
my most vulnerable parts, the most vulnerable parts of me. I can trust you with it and still think like I'm gonna tell her this thing that I've been feeling, and she may think I'm crazy, but I need to get it off my chest. Random stuff. It could be something concerning my kids, concerning, my marriage, concerning my job, or something that's important to me that I
Mhm.
feel
Mhm.
a certain kind of way about, and I'm looking for support or an ear or a shoulder. And to me, and I'll just describe my best friend, she's my soft place. Like I can tell her anything and might be like, damn girl, that's crazy. Anyway, okay, so let's figure this out. Or let's go get a lemon drop. Or, it's
And a burger.
the and a burger. The
Yeah.
intimacy comes with the acceptance, like
Mm-hmm.
knowing that I'm telling you that, and then like I'm just trusting you're not going to think I'm crazy or weird, or you're not going to admonish me for thinking this way or whatever, and so it's hard. I don't tell everybody my business, but if I need to tell my person, I know I can tell her that. And it's a safe place. It's a safe place. It's a soft landing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's what intimacy, like an intimate friendship, looks like. And also vice versa.
Yeah.
I would give that same level of, you could tell me anything. It could be the
Mm-hmm.
craziest thing that you did, that you said, a feeling that you've had towards someone else and you don't know how to process that. You could trust me. And if you want my advice, if you're looking for advice, I'm gonna try and give it to you. But if all you want is to talk and for me to be the vessel, then
Mm-hmm.
I will be that. And having that complete trust is what an intimate friendship is, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Well, do you have a guideline of friends, acquaintances, colleagues? Because I think that it's time that we start normalizing putting
Hmm.
people in those, I don't want to say boxes or categories, but
Categories, yeah. Hmm.
yeah, like because I think a lot of us will be like, "That's my friend," and you're like, "Girl, that is not your friend."
Mm-mm.
And I've done that too, where I'm like, "Oh, my friend so," and I had to sit back and like that. I don't know her like that. That is not my friend. Like I'm not in
Hmm.
kindergarten where that person has cute pigtails. I have cute pigtails. Now we're buddies.
Hmm.
What? How do you? How can you let the village know from your perspective? How do
Hmm.
you categorize friend, acquaintance, even colleague?
I don't, Chioko, I don't know.
Never mind, don't listen to
so,
her.
so the interesting part about my job is I work in antiques, but it's just me and my boss.
Okay.
And I've worked for the same person since 1998. So he is definitely my friend. He's
Uh-huh.
someone who I trust, who I could have the craziest mood swing with, and he'd be like, oh, okay. Uh-huh. You know, or he's just, and he's 30 years older than I am, almost 30 years older than I am. He's just like a safe place for me. It's
Hmm.
not really like he is my boss, but he's more than that. He's like I would say he's closer to being family to me, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So the colleague perspective, I don't have that because I have not worked in a place where I've had coworkers in so long. Mm. In terms of like friend acquaintance, when someone can properly read me and I them, I
Mm-hmm.
consider them a friend, right? So if I feel myself pulling back from someone, like, okay, say you come pick me up, Chioko, and I'm in a mood, right? But you can't tell that I'm in that mood and you don't really know, like, I think we're more acquaintances. This is my
Mm-hmm.
broke down version way of, of telling
Okay.
where I would put these people, right? How well does this person know me? How much am I code switching in front of this person, I guess?
Mm-hmm.
Or are we actual friends where I can be like, girl, I just had the worst day of my life, blah, 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 you know? And if I'm not doing that with you, you're probably an acquaintance.
Yeah.
If I'm able to do that with you, we are friends. I know that you know,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to listen to me. I can vent,
Mm-hmm.
and when it's over, and vice versa, same thing. So I have a solid, I would say, friends group.
Yeah.
Um, the dynamic between us is different,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
depends on the person,
Yeah.
but I would say I have a solid friends group, a lot of acquaintances, some who I danced with, some who I've been to brunch with, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, girl, I love spending time with you. They're still my acquaintance. It's not
Yeah.
super intimate. Um, that's my
Yeah.
that's how I do it. You know, it's
And
just all.
no,
Mhm.
no, I don't want to interrupt you, but it sounds like you're in the space of it may suck to cut people off,
Mhm.
but you will
Mhm.
do it as necessary.
I'll do it as necessary. And I will say this, I'm not really interested in getting more friends. I think it's something that happens
Mm-hmm.
naturally. I'm not going to go out in search of, I really need, someone who I don't need that. Maybe, when I was younger, high school,
Yeah.
or,
Yeah.
that's something that you kind of you do. I don't need that at my age. So if
Mm-hmm.
we become friends, then it's because I've sought you out. I see something in you and I'm just like, let's go to brunch. Let's do this. I'm really trying because I see something in you that is
Mm-hmm.
good for me, and maybe I have something good to give to offer you.
Mm-hmm.
We enjoy one another's time, but for the most part it's just acquaintances, because
Yeah.
I don't need any new friends. So
Right, right. And I also believe that no one, and I tell people this all the time, I'm like, especially when I think it's so sad when I hear people like, I don't need nobody. Team of
right,
one,
right.
team of, and I'm
Hmm.
like,
Really.
that's not, I personally do not believe that we are put on this earth to walk by ourselves.
Right,
Either it could be romantically, it could be platonically, but I believe that we're supposed to have at least one person. You don't need a like a group of people, but it could just
right.
be one person that you connect with, or two people. I believe in that. So I'm really happy that you, at your ripe ass age, have found
Hmm.
that this group works for me. I can trust them. I can evolve with them. They'll call me on my shit. They'll encourage me.
Hmm.
I will do the same for them because it's not one sided. It is a moving,
Yep.
living, breathing relationship.
Yes, yes. And sometimes I'm not going to be able to give
Mm,
my 50, right? If we're doing 50-50, sometimes I can't do it, and I might need that friend who's like, it's fine if you're at 30%. I'll give the extra 70,
yeah,
knowing that when they're at their 20%, then I'm going to go ahead and give them the 80%.
yeah.
There was a TikTok or a reel on Instagram that someone sent me a couple years ago, where this lady was talking about in a marriage, where, your spouse is, for the most part, you guys are 50-50. It might be 60, 60-40, whatever sometimes, but there might be a time when you're like, hey, I can't give the
Mm-hmm.
50% today, and I
Mm-mm.
don't know about tomorrow. So are
I don't know
you
about next
able?
week.
I don't know about next week, but are you able to do 70%? And I'll give and your spouse being, thank you for communicating that to me. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do 70, and because
Mm-hmm.
I know that
Mm-hmm.
you're going to give that 70 or 80 or 90% when I'm feeling depleted also.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the
Mm-hmm.
same thing holds true for friendships, at least the
Yeah.
friendships that I have. There are times when we might really be relying on someone to say, hey, girl, I can't right now,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
just love that. I love that perspective.
Hmm. Chi, I'm glad that you were here to give your take about people not playing your face because
Mm,
um what we're not going to do is allow that to happen.
exactly.
One of the things I'm ending, was, you know, good ancestor, what makes you a good ancestor this year, I'm asking people, what intention are you setting for yourself? And what does liberation look like for you?
Hmm. So for 2025,
Mhm.
and I'm not big on resolutions, but I am big on working on
Mhm.
me
Yeah.
because I'm a project.
Yes.
And I need to be, I have to be more compassionate. I wouldn't say I'm a mean person, but sometimes I can be not as compassionate as I should be. And that's in everything. And okay. Part of me is that I am constantly trying to busy myself with something. It's just how I'm wired, which is why sitting myself down after my daughter went away to college was so traumatizing and difficult for me.
I bet.
But I am a busy person, so my thoughts, my brain is always going, going, going. Sometimes I can be dismissive of the
Mhm.
things that are important and the things that are more static. I can, I guess it looks like me maybe taking advantage or not taking advantage, maybe, I don't know the right word to use, but taking it for granted, I guess would be a better
Mhm.
term. Like, I will give the example of me living my best life, going out with my friends, and realizing, okay, my 12-year-old is at home, and I was like, one week I was like, I went out I went out Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and what happened is that a lot of my friends are in education. So when you get that Thanksgiving week off, you're like, okay, so on Monday night, let's do this. Tuesday night, let's do, and you're like, hey, okay, because you never really get to spend a lot of time with them. And your kid is off too. So they can stay up whenever you're not work, and everything's great. But then you realize, like, dang, my kid is just home. Now he's home with grandma and he's home with well, his brother wasn't back home at that point, but he's home with grandma. He loves gaming, he loves doing all these things. And he's fine, but I'm like, I still need to be there with him. And I started to have this little feeling like I'm busying myself trying to have that girl time, which is also necessary for me.
Mhm.
Adult time, girl time is so important. But am I kind of doing a little too much? And so then I was more intentional about being home. And a couple nights he was like, are you going out? Are you going somewhere? And I'd say, no, I'm home. And he'd be like, oh, okay, good. And then he would go get on his video game. But still, I was here. I was present. And if he wanted to be with me, he could. So I need to be more compassionate. I don't even know if compassionate is just the word that comes to me when I'm trying to describe this feeling like I just need to be more attentive and more compassionate and look at more present. Yeah. And sometimes I feel like I can be a little, it's fine. Gosh, what,
Yeah.
selfish. And so that's what I want to work on 2025, but in perpetuity, forever. Like it's going to be a thing for me.
Yeah. Well, what does liberation
So
look like for you?
just total freedom in general.
Mm,
Um, I would say I don't want to be weighed down by thoughts of regret. I don't want, so the liberation would be me not being out with my girls and also feeling guilty about not being here. I just need a better balance so that I had, because that's liberation, right? To just be, to
mhm,
do what you do, what makes you feel good in a way that you're free from regret, guilt, anything that might be weighing you down mentally. Liberation in general, I'm thinking I don't want to feel like I owe anyone anything. I don't want to feel like I have to work to be someone's friend because
mhm,
for me, in that friendship that I ended, it was me feeling like I always had to impress and I always had to, be kind of apologetic for something. And oh, I'm sorry that I had my own thought about that. Yeah, I agree with you. You're right.
mhm, mhm.
Being away from that friendship made me see in retrospect that that's what I was doing. I was being, I was agreeing just to agree and not to disagree
Yeah.
because I didn't want to have that feeling of you know, I'm not enough
You're going
or
along to get along.
I'm going along to get along. I didn't want to have that feeling. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Chi Chi, it's always my absolute pleasure and love to have you agree to come on. And sometimes it's like, what are we gonna talk about? Mm,
I love being here, Chioko. And I wish that we had recorded the conversation that we had prior to pressing record
I know, I
because I
know.
feel like I've not said enough, even though we've said so much.
Oh, you're gonna come back
But
though. We can do part
okay,
two.
we'll
Let's
have to
like,
do part
yeah,
two.
let's regroup
Mhm.
and be like, no, this needs to be said. And then we'll do it
Yeah,
again. Like, girl, this is, I mean, I'm like the boss of my podcast. Like, nobody's
you
telling me
are.
who I can talk to and what I need to say. So,
Yep, yep, yep.
you
And
can
I
come back.
mean, you're a fan of Anita Baker, so it's fine. It's fine.
Right. I'm not Benita Brown. Benita Brown is
Right.
like, but she'll probably listen to this like,
You probably won't even finish it. She
I
won't
know.
finish it.
Luther did me wrong. He's like, calm down, ma'am. But yes, I want you to come back. Let's plan a time where you come
Yes.
back and I'll just press record and then I'll let Dan, my editor,
Mm-hmm.
know
Mm-hmm.
what needs to come
Yeah.
out and what needs to stay in. So,
Uh-huh. Bleep that name and that one.
yeah,
Oh, and that one too.
yes, the whole sentence
Yeah, just take
because
it out. We've revealed too much.
he's probably gonna be like, "Can you just call Chi Chi over here and like she can sit here while I'm editing this and then therefore make it easier because he's like the most patient editor I've ever had. Well, he's the only editor I've ever had, so
Right. So that makes a difference.
I gotta
So
keep them because everybody else will probably be like, "Girl, I put this whole thing in. I don't have time." So, oh, I adore you and I adore our time.
I do too.
So let's
We
get
should do this
together.
in person though. I want to do it in person.
We need to do it
I,
in person.
we should do one where we're drinking and it just gets progressively funnier and just that
And
would be
worse.
good.
Yeah.
And Dan would be like, you know what? You're gonna have to re-record because this is not preferably without the bourbon. Um, but
And,
yeah.
and I'm just gonna be like sitting there like every 7 minutes, little sip. because I'm very light. I'm very like,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I'll
Uh-huh.
be like, so what happened was that bitch had me fucked up because
She had me all the way fucked up.
be like, okay, let's cut. Chioko.
Yoko left talking about she about to beat somebody up, and I don't even like. What are we supposed to do?
She called an Uber and everything, got the fuck up out of here. So yeah, so I'll be in touch.
Okay,
I love
sounds
you
good to
so
me.
much. Thank you.
I love you, Chioko. Thank you for having me. I love our time. I do love our
Me
time.
too. And it took a lot of your time because our pre podcast was like an hour and something.
Yes, I know. And my mom texted me, even though I turned off my notification. So I know she pushed it through to be like, notify this heifer anyway. And so, yeah, maybe time for me to go.
Yeah, yeah. So I appreciate you and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Okay. Bye bye.